and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I'm your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me for the first ever Week 18 betting preview is Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
What's up, Kyle? Yeah, that is definitely something that we would have never thought we'd be saying. I mean, it just even, at the end of last year, but it is, I will say, as an avid gambler, like, it is cool to have like an extra week of meaningful football, and what a week it's going to be. I mean, with teams already securing spots, seeds, all that crap, you're going to see a lot of no names out there.
Yeah, I think between the extra week and the week, the extra playoff spot in the AFC and the NFC, it seems to open up a little bit more to a lot of teams. There's a lot of extra teams that are playing another week. So, for those playing fantasy championships, fantasy playoffs, obviously having week 17 where you actually got to play players and not have to, scramble for the Tim Hightowers of the world or the, third string wide receiver who never got a snap and all of a sudden is catching. Oh, wait, that was the guy in the Patriots. What was his name? I forget. Anyway, so we are going to recap or we are going to dive into week 18. We got Saturday. We got 2 games Saturday. We got a whole slate of Sunday morning and then Sunday evening, obviously, and then the night game. Before that, if you are enjoying the content, make sure you smash that thumbs up. Make sure you hit the like button, turn on the bell notification, do all the good stuff. We are 3 subscribers away from 300 subscribers. We would love to hit that mark before the end of the football season. Obviously, Brian and I aren't going anywhere. We'll be here for the whole run of the playoffs as well as your NASCAR home. We will betting and DFS preview. So if you enjoy NASCAR or just having something to get you through the off season, we're here for you. Each and every Sunday is the race. So we usually record about the same schedule. It won't change too much. Let's jump into last week a little bit, Brian. I am really disappointed with the Colts. I thought I was feeling bad, and then I was feeling good, and then I was feeling bad again. Colts did not come through. I tweeted at you on Sunday when it was probably the second quarter saying, why do I bet on the Jaguars? This is so dumb. They got absolutely demolished. That was probably one of my worst picks all year.
I don't know if that was so much you betting on the Jaguars as it is fading the Patriots.
Yeah,
you stuck to your guns with that. So
yeah, I got one more chance to do it this week. We'll see if I had the cojones to do it. Shouts to my boy Ryan Tannehill, first place in the AFC, baby. Beat the Texans, and we're the 1 seed. We got the bye. We got Derrick Henry coming back. Very, very excited about that. He did not throw a pick, and we won the game. It's weird how that works. So that was a loss. But I got the Saints minus 6.5 thanks to you. I was gonna be mad at you when that looked like Carolina might keep it interesting.
Oh man, that game was brutal at the end.
Yes, very, very gross. But the Saints won by 8, which means cover town. And shouts to the Niners, who also didn't look great until they did, and then all of a sudden we're in cover town, and then Eagles also got me there. So it was a very 500 week for me, 3-3. Takes me to 71, 63, and 2 on the season, just almost 50, basically 53%, a number I can be very happy with. Obviously, I'd love to make it even higher if I can, but we'll see. The teaser run of bad luck continued, Brian. The Eagles,
Patriots hit the over by themselves, which was a sign of things to come.
Yeah, and I mean, we were simpatico there. Like, in theory, if that game stays under it, Jags probably keep it close enough, but lot going on there. The Rams minus 220.
Woo!
I think
they won. That was a 1 point game. I think it was 1 or 2 point game. That's why I was afraid of that line in Baltimore. The Ravens are sneaky good even with backups.
Titans minus 3.5. That was a win. The Bucks losing, or not losing, but like almost losing to the Jets is very weird. The NFL remains incredibly interesting. And then
That was a
obviously we had Antonio Brown dancing
yeah,
in the end zone, and um, you know, week 17, man, it just got wonky.
dude. Yeah.
NFL players weren't supposed to play. Everybody's supposed to be resting. So this is why it broke my brain's fried.
It definitely broke their stride as in
Yeah,
terms of like how their bodies were supposed to be feeling last weekend. It
yeah.
is, like you said, they were supposed to be taking a relaxation week and taking a short
Mhm.
day, and they all had to work overtime in order to take, especially the Bucks, to beat the
Yep.
Jets.
How you didn't get a Gronk touchdown just with
Oh,
the massive day he had, I'm not really sure, but receptions, yards, everything else was there. DK had a monster day. Nice call there. Kyler Murray, uh, rush yards. Obviously, we know we can't give out all these props on the pod if they're not released, but we try and get them out to the people. So make sure you're following us both on Twitter, and we will share that there. But without further ado, let's dive into week 18. Let's talk some lines. Let's talk some players who may or may not be playing. Let's talk all the fun stuff. And Brian, we'll start with Saturday, where we have two games to dive into. We'll start with the earlier game. The Kansas City Chiefs on the road to face the Denver Broncos. They are 10.5 point favorites, depending on where you look. Pretty much 10 across the board outside of BetMGM. Where's your head at for this game? Do you have any strong feelings? Do you have anything on the card?
this game is very difficult for me to kind of break down, just knowing that Kansas City, yes, they have to win in order to hopefully still get the 1 seed if Tennessee were to lose on Sunday,
Yeah,
but they should control this game from the get. And Andy Reid is not in favor of putting any of his players at risk. So I could see this as being Kansas City rolls first half. They bring in Chad Henne, they pull all their guys, and then Denver, who will be, undermanned on defense, but they're going to have all their guys on offense, somehow sneaks in the back door here, like makes this a touchdown game. So I'm definitely leaning first half lines with Kansas City in this game, and then going live maybe with a Broncos, plus the
that's
points during the game here.
I think a great way to attack it, and I think I'm glad we're on the same page. First quarter -3 for the Chiefs, and first half -6.5 for the Chiefs are both on my card. I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think the Chiefs absolutely demolish them in the first half. Maybe it's 27-7 or something like that. And then they rest their guys, and then they sit, and there's Chad Henne, and there's Daryl Williams, and
Mhm.
maybe Demarcus Robinson's out there, Byron
Yeah.
Pringle, I don't know, but Blake Bell maybe plays a little bit of quarterback. We'll see.
Ooh, that'd be
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, I mean, if I'm doing like a pick 'em pool, or I have to like pick every game against the spread, I kind of like Denver, and I think obviously if I'm betting this game real money, I think your call of betting the Broncos live is probably the better idea, because you can get a better number than 10. I mean, you might get like a 14 or 16 or something like
Exactly.
that. So that's I like that call quite a bit. But yeah, Chiefs first half, Chiefs first quarter, both made the card, and absolutely will be real money bets between now and Sunday. Let's go to the other game, and let's talk about your Dallas Cowboys. You had some trepidation. You had some, I don't know, Kyle. I don't want to get too ahead of my skis here. And it looks like it was for good reason. I don't know what to make of Arizona. The second I think I have
Dude.
them figured out, the second I realize I don't know anything.
But
Um,
isn't that just the story of the NFL this year? There are so
yeah,
many Jekyll and Hyde
sure.
teams, especially the like next tier of
Like
of talent.
I don't know that I really feel great about any of them. Like I was talking to a friend about, like the Super Bowl odds and futures and that kind of stuff, and like you can poke holes in I think every team. Like obviously I'm a Titans fan, so I'm going to be a little biased, but the narrative this week is this could be one of the worst number one overall seeds in the AFC that we've seen in a long time. And then obviously Kansas City's looking better now, but they've had their moments. Green Bay I don't think is that great. but they're going to lock in the number 1 seed.
Let me just say something real quick before we continue down that path. The one thing you will say about like a Green Bay, yeah, they may have some holes, but they have discount double check Aaron Rodgers, and Kansas City has the magician Patrick Mahomes. Tennessee, who, yeah, Ryan Tannehill may not be on those guys' level. They are playing possibly the best defense in the NFL, and they're getting the freaking hammer in King Henry back potentially as the number 1 seed, hosting every team who none of their opponents, if they were to host, are that good against the run. So, do not discount your Titans going forward.
Oh no. And I just dropped the little DK futures line in the private chat, so if you want to check that out. But yeah, your Packers are plus 380. The Chiefs are 5-1. Bills are 750. Rams at 850. I think is probably one of the worst bets you can make. I would much rather bet the Bucks at 9. I don't know about your Dallas. Their upside is, the thing is, Dallas like offensively seems like they should be, but Mike McCarthy is dragging that team down. The defense is amazing, and if they're making big plays, then they'll be in a good spot.
Well, that's what I was just going to say about the Cowboys. Is the biggest misconception about Dallas's defense this year? Like, everybody look at fantasy; they were the highest scoring fantasy defense this year, but a defense that is predicated on creating the turnover doesn't necessarily win in the playoffs, because they're giving up yardage, they're giving up chunk plays, they are allowing teams to move the ball on them. And when you're facing the top of the top talent in the NFL, you can't even allow them to get past, the 40, because those are points. And with the way their offense is playing, they do not instill confidence in me going into the playoffs.
So I'm holding 2 futures tickets right now. I'm holding the Tennessee Titans at 22-1. They are currently 12-1. Feel pretty good about that. I also have the 49ers at 45-1. They're 35-1 and a lot closer to being out than I kind of expected at this point. I think they have one of the highest ceilings and lowest floors going into this week. Like, obviously they could be out, but I think if Trey Lance, we'll talk about them in a bit, but if Trey Lance clicks, that team could easily win the Super Bowl, especially this year where everything seems so all over the place. We talked a little bit 2 weeks ago, maybe on Twitter, about the Chargers at 30-1. They're now 40-1. Obviously, they have to win to get in, but I also feel like they're a team that if they get in, Justin Herbert gets warm, and obviously Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and that defense, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, like if they can keep it all together and keep it on the field, they could come out of the AFC. Like, I don't know. I mean, they've already shown they can beat the Chiefs.
I was just going to say, I've been on the Chargers since the beginning of the season, but I do worry, like, when do we get to the point where Brandon Staley is being too aggressive?
No such thing.
Going for
I will stand on this desk, and Kevin Stefanski, Brandon Staley, these guys going for a 4th down, I have so much respect for it. This old school model of, the problem with the Bills is they run too much, and the problem with the Chargers, they go for it too much. And like, I'm not gonna, running the ball a lot or punting a lot is not a key to success and key to winning.
I agree, but I mean, like, when you're facing teams who have offenses where they're almost guaranteed to put points on the board, you can't render points.
But you also need to score points to not lose, because that's why they lost that second game, in a game they probably should have beat the Chiefs.
I agree there.
But yes, in certain games against Kansas City, I think you need to be a little more aggressive. In other games against maybe Denver, you need to be a little less aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. You have to play.
But they also expected, I think, Brett Rippon to come back out and then Drew Lock comes out and then makes it interesting. I don't know. I say go for it every 4th down, as long as if you're on your side of the 50 and it's not like 4th and 27, like, I say go for it. But that's where my head's at. I do think there's some interesting value. The Colts, I want to be excited about them. Like, obviously don't really want to be, because I'm a Titans fan and I want to see them bounce out of there. But like, that defense is up and down. The Carson Wentz train, I don't know. But we're sidetracked. Let's get back on track and let's talk about your Cowboys, who are currently 5 or 5.5 point favorites against the Eagles. It's actually down to 4.5 in some spots. I do a contest over on Betting Pros where I locked in the Eagles at +7, feeling really good about that number. There's potential the Eagles could sit some guys. Obviously, Miles Sanders is out. I guess do you have a lean? Do you have any thoughts? Where's your head at for this game?
Well, to begin, let's start with the fact that Dallas is kind of having their own little COVID outbreak to begin the week with Micah Parsons, Tyron Smith, both going on the COVID list. Numerous defensive players were ill today, including Travion Diggs. So, I mean, who knows what's going to pop up this week? And then, when you look at the standings, the Cowboys are going to need a miracle to move out of the 4 seed right now. They're going to need both the Rams and the Buccaneers to lose, which is probably not going to happen. I mean, you can't bank on that. So, the Cowboys, I see this being very similar to what the Chiefs do. And it's maybe the first half they get their starters in this game. And regardless of who's playing for Philly, you're looking at a preseason matchup in the second half, meaning that there's going to be some crazy stuff happening, fumbles for touchdowns, interceptions, guys we've never heard of scoring. With this, being in Philly, I'm leaning the Eagles getting the points because we don't really know who they're playing. Even with them, because Philadelphia is locked into the 6th seed right now. They can't really move out of that spot. So I don't really think that we're going to see the starters for either of these teams play that much. So to me, that means I'm going to take the points with the home team.
Yep, I totally agree. Eagles. I want them closer to that 7. I think if you can get them at 5,
Yeah.
5.5, it's interesting. I think as it trends towards 4, I'm a little more concerned. But I also like the money line. I think it is worth a sprinkle. And I also kind of like the under, but that's if you like the Eagles. If you like Dallas and you think that Dallas is going to put the hurt on them and get a little feel good going into this game, it could make some sense. But
yeah, and then something else too. I noticed. I looked already. I'll probably try to add this to my card if it comes out at a good number. But at Prize Picks right now, you can get Dak Prescott's passing yards. I think it's at like 250.5. I'm smashing the under with the anticipation of him not playing the full game. So if his yards prop pops up and it's anywhere in that range, 240 to 260,
yeah.
I'm fully comfortable taking the under in this spot with knowing that I doubt he's going to play even 3 quarters in this game.
Yeah, I think there's a few names that, and we'll see what their odds end up being, but there's a few names where you could just bet unders across the board, and I think you'll hit 70% of them, and
Yeah.
you may miss out on 1 or 2. But Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, there's a few names that could make some sense, and obviously the books are going to be as patient as possible before getting those numbers out. Let's head to Sunday and let's start with the early games. Now, these games from a playoff perspective don't mean much. Obviously, the NFL is really good about stacking the games, and it's funny that we go 17 weeks. So you previously 16 weeks of 3 games in the afternoon, and then all of a sudden the last week of the season, 30 games in the afternoon, 1 game in the morning. It's just very, very on brand for the NFL. But
I don't understand why this isn't the schedule every single week with 6 games in the 4
it's
p.m.
because
slot.
we're on the West Coast, Brian, and it really feels nice to us. But there, for our East Coast brethren, it does get, it gets late, and I understand. I
It's
don't
the
know.
Sunday night game that really hurts
Yeah,
when you live on the East Coast. Believe me, I don't think I ever once saw the entirety of those games while I was living there, going to school or working. It was impossible to stay up till close to midnight every Sunday and Monday.
yeah. Okay, so for the morning slate, out on the West Coast, the early slate, on the East, anything jumping out? Any targets you want to add to your card?
Well, I'm looking at the numbers right now. I'm over at DraftKings Sportsbook at the moment. Titans on the road in Houston, laying less than a touchdown in the first half. I love that number.
Titans are in the afternoon, so we'll get to them. Aren't they?
No, Titans are in the morning.
Oh, sure enough. That's interesting. That will make the afternoon games really interesting because if the Titans handle their business, then all the other stuff in the afternoon doesn't really matter. That's very weird to me.
Well, so that's why they placed Kansas City on Saturday, forcing them to have to
Ah,
the
look at you.
NFL
Someone's
has
got
their
to
little
have a brain on
tricks.
this
That's why they
podcast.
do that garbage. But yeah, and so Tennessee, if Kansas City beats Denver, Tennessee's going to have to go out and win. So, and even if they don't, I think there's a shot that they maybe don't clinch with some other weird happenings in the AFC. So I think Tennessee's going to have to play their guys at least a half. So it's the same kind of thought process with Kansas City and Dallas going forward. First half guaranteed the starters are going to be in there, and I think that they roll Houston early. So I do like that line.
I'm going to take the Texans there. I think
Oh, come on.
I think I want to be excited, but like I think a combination of the Titans playing a little too tight, a little too conservative to make sure they
True.
get the win, combined with the potential, like you mentioned, of potentially sitting their starters in the second half and making the game a little closer than maybe you thought. And maybe it's stupid, and maybe I'll look like an idiot. And curious to see if Derrick Henry steps on the field. I don't think so.
I don't think they're
Uh,
going to roll them out this week.
but I don't know. But I'm taking the 10.5 at BetMGM. I think at 10 it gets a little more dicey, and if it gets inside 10, I don't want any part of it. But I'm taking the 10.5, and I'm gonna hold my nose and expect the Texans to get just enough, just enough.
Yeah, the other game I'm looking at too is Minnesota. They're hosting
Mhm.
Chicago. The Bears are going to be without Justin Fields. It's looking like they're having some other issues with COVID.
Yeah.
Minnesota, yeah, they're knocked out of the playoffs, but I mean, this is a Mike Zimmer led team, very old school. He has no inclination. He has shown no want to play Kellen Mond or even
Yeah.
see any more of Sean Mannion. So I think this is going to be full on Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson to go out there, try to ball out. So I like Minnesota laying less than 6 at most books right now. It's actually decreasing. It's down to 5. So I like the Vikings to take care of business at home.
Yeah. I'm a little worried about that team because we have 2 lame duck coaches. I think Nagy and Zimmer are both gone after this week. Vikings definitely have more talent and they should handle their business, but it is a little bit of a wonky game. I'm gonna lay the 6 take the 6 with the Bengals. Um, I know Joe Burrow is probably not gonna play, and I know they could be without some players, but like I don't think the Browns are any good, and I think I don't know, like I don't know what's going on there, but like we've seen them go toe to toe with some really terrible teams and just not be that great. I think the Browns win probably. Maybe, but it's by like a field goal. It's not like I'm just gonna take the 6 points with the Bengals and hope that Burrow plays a half and gets up by enough where they can hold on for the cover or something. Jamar Chase has a chance at some rookie records. There's a few things there where I think they'll do enough to keep it within the touchdown.
Yeah, I think we were talking pre-recording about Cincinnati, so they've had a few people already ruled out with COVID, including Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow. There's still no update on whether or not he's actually going to play. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that, being that the team is full of a lot of young players, and this will be their first time in the playoffs. And you don't normally want to have these guys sit for any amount of time leading into a game that's going to be the most important game of their life.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see if how long they're out there, especially against a divisional foe that got eliminated. This these weeks are always the most difficult to bet early in the week until you get those full roster updates. But it more often than not, I like to lean with the teams getting a lot of points in these spots for that reason.
What about the Lions plus the 4? Like,
I knew you were gonna talk about that one.
it's just like,
I
does
see
Aaron
no
Rodgers
reason
even
why
step
Green
on the
Bay should roll
field?
anybody out there, honestly.
What's that?
I don't see any reason why the Packers are going to be
Yeah,
playing
this is
anybody
going to be
past
Jordan
the first
Love
quarter.
and maybe AJ Dillon, or do they rest him too? Like they have to play somebody, right?
I mean, honestly, I could see them like Devontae Adams not playing. I could see like Valdez Scantling and the other guys playing maybe a half.
Equanimous, yeah.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers gets a drive here. I mean,
Yeah,
and we've
they're in
seen,
a weird spot too because they are they're gonna get the bye. So
yeah, they already clinched.
basically, yeah, they got it. Um, so does it does the fact that they have next week off make them want to press a little bit more? I'm gonna put the Lions on +4 and hold my nose. I don't know. I like crappy teams getting points. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Um,
it's interesting because that line continues to creep down. It's
yeah,
3.5 at a lot of places. DraftKings, FanDuel, PointsBet, Caesars. It's going in favor of Detroit, especially with it leaning. Jared Goff is looking like he's going to return this week.
yeah,
Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, hell, he's playing like a god right now for fantasy players in the season.
yeah.
Their backfield is fully healthy. Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, Craig Reynolds.
Yeah, Sugar House, if you have access to that, is giving 4.5 right now. It's -115, but that's some serious value. BetMGM has it at 4, and I think you mentioned 3.5 most other places. So
Yeah.
um, I'm taking the 4 with at BetMGM with the Lions. I appreciate that extra half a point, BetMGM.
I think
Uh,
I think one other game that's really intriguing to me, regardless of what the status of their starting quarterback is, that's got to be Baltimore hosting Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had their swan song on Monday against Cleveland. We all
yeah,
kind of anticipated them coming out like that for Ben's last home game, but this team is not good. Like they are garbage.
Ben's gonna throw it like 65 times for an average throw of like 3.5 yards.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. And I mean, they're gonna be facing a Ravens team who is on the ropes. They need a win to even have a shot at making the playoffs. And whether it's Huntley or Lamar Jackson, they've shown enough over the past few weeks, even in losses, that this game should probably be closer to a touchdown than it is right now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
currently
you can
five,
get
4.5.
4.5 at BetMGM and FanDuel. I think that's nice value right there. I would jump on that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, so that's why
Um,
I'm gonna lay the points with Baltimore. I'm gonna add that to
yeah,
my card
I
too.
think that's the move. Should we head to the afternoon with the big games?
Yes, let's do
Let's
it.
do it. Let's talk some afternoon football. And I'm going to start with the team that I've already bet. And the line is moving towards me, I guess. I bet the Falcons at 4.5. It is now 3.5. My betting card, I wanted to put. I'm also taking the Falcons money line. Um, I think, like, I think the Falcons have shown enough where they can be a good team they against other not so good teams, but when they play really good teams, they struggle. And I think, watching the Saints last week struggle to move the ball in Carolina and barely win by 8, like that's some seriously concerning. Plus the Falcons are at home. I think the Birds get it done here and end a very weird season for Atlanta.
Yeah, and Atlanta's one of the best worst teams in the NFL, if that
Hmm.
makes any sense. Like they
I
for
think
some reason they play good.
they're the NFC version of the Broncos.
Yes.
They're they can do some stuff. They're sort of interesting, but when it matters to actually play a real team, they have no shot. Um,
Yeah, I
obviously they
like the
do it a
under
little
in that game
different.
as well. It's pretty
Yeah,
damn low, 39.5, but
yep,
I don't see either one of them being able to do much on offense.
yeah. I do worry about the Falcons potentially without Kyle Pitts here. I heard that might be in play.
He did
Um,
return today, I think at a
okay,
limited basis, but he's
so
got a
then yeah,
hamstring issue and you don't
yeah.
want to mess
But
with
they're
that.
also in a spot where they don't really need to do anything.
Mm.
The Saints do need to win if they want to get in. Obviously, the Niners are hoping. Um, the Niners are hoping that the Saints lose, so they can kind of lock up that last seed. And you can have some fun with parlays this week. You can do a little Niners make the playoffs where you bet the Niners money line and the Falcons money line, and
Yeah.
or you can fade that and take the Saints and take the take the Rams and try that. There's a few different options that also with other teams to make the playoffs. You can also have some real wild and bet the Jags to win, and then the Raiders and Chargers to tie, and some other fun stuff. So, what else in the afternoon window is jumping out to you?
I'm drawn once again to your team you love fading, but that's the Patriots visiting Miami, where even with Tom Brady there, the Patriots always struggle down in South Beach. I think this is going to be another case of that, where the Dolphins, what they like to do on defense, will, really test the Patriots offense. And I like the Dolphins here with the potential money line play, like you were talking about with Atlanta, to try to kind of ruin the Patriots, standings and or the end of their season, to leave a sour taste in their mouth as they go to the
You can get
go to the playoffs.
plus 240 on Miami, which I like. And in terms of the playoffs, obviously the Patriots, there's an outside shot they move up, but in reality, they really don't have a lot to play for. So if this game gets kind of wonky, they could easily just like pull back the reins, sit their starters, not worry about anything. And you're cashing a plus 240, plus 200 money line play on the Dolphins. I might just take the money line and not worry about anything else.
Yeah, it'll be interesting too, because jumping on teams like Miami, who they're going to play their guys because they have a bunch of young players, they have players on contracts. Say come Sunday, New England comes out and says, screw it, we don't really care about our standings, we're going to sit everybody.
Yep.
Boom, you just
that line, and that line's going to swing. Yeah,
I
think if you like Miami at all, you take that money line, you take that points, and then maybe if it goes too far, you jump on New England plus 3 or something. Come Sunday morning. I think that makes a ton of sense. And don't get locked into these. Well, they have teams, they have something to play for, and the other team doesn't, because that doesn't always work out, especially in the final week of the year.
Well, I mean, they're all professionals. They're all NFL players, so it's not like they're putting high school players out there.
Right. It's not like the Kansas State LSU game where they're playing, without 40
like a wide receiver at quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Shouts to the Wildcats for getting it done for me. I'm taking the Niners. I know it's not looking great for their secondary. They have a couple guys who are for sure out. They have a few more who are still in COVID protocol who could play. McVay, Kyle Shanahan owns McVay. They absolutely trounced him earlier this year. I think Shanahan's like 6-0 or 5-0 in his last 6 games against the spread, 6-3 overall or something. Should have had that ready. My bad. But the Niners are the better team. I think they are making the playoffs. I think they are a real threat to go far. And I don't trust the Rams, and the fact that they're potentially playing Cam Akers is kind of weird. Maybe it's just to get his feet wet for the playoffs, but I think the Niners get the job done. I think Trey Lance starts, and I think that's a good thing for the Niners. He did not look great in his first half, but came around in the second half. Obviously, it's the Texans, who take out the grain of salt, but my quarterback got absolutely demolished, and the Texans front four is actually pretty decent. So I will take the Niners, and I will take all those points, and I will run to the window.
Yeah, I like that call in that divisional matchup, because we've talked about this numerous times throughout this year. When you have divisional games like that, anything over a field goal, you normally lean in the direction of the team getting the points, no matter where the game is being played at.
Yep.
And so, San Francisco, they're also going to have a large contingency of fans in LA. So
yeah, their fans travel well no matter where they go. It's been really impressive to see all season long.
So I do think this game is rather close throughout the day.
Yep. What else are you looking at in the afternoon?
I mean, I'm looking at that Carolina Panthers Buccaneers game. How are the Bucks going to come out now with this whole Antonio Brown saga happening? I don't know if we're going to see any of their guys really again for a half. So I think this is a spot for an under for me. It's leaning. It's 41.5. I'm contemplating whether or not I want to play the total. I'm avoiding the sides just because if Brady plays the whole game, I think they beat them by 10 or more.
Yep.
But if they sit him and you got Blaine Gabbert or whoever the hell's back there, Kyle Trask, I don't know.
Yeah. There was something, who knows how credible it is, but circulating that was like a DM to Antonio Brown basically saying that the Bucks plan on practicing all week because because we're playing everybody in week 18. Obviously he didn't end up playing, or isn't going to end up playing because he's off the team now, but that is interesting where you could be getting some real nice value. As I mentioned, against New Orleans, Carolina looked putrid, and I think you could see much of the same. You can get the Bucks -5 in the first half, which tells me the DraftKings at least thinks that Brady plays a half and doesn't play a whole game, with the first half line at -5 and the whole game being at what, 8?
Yeah, it's like
So
8.5 right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that to my card. Bucks -5 first half. Just
yep,
thinking that there's because I don't think Brady is a guy who really wants to sit. He likes to get those repetitions. So
yeah.
maybe he
I
plays a
do
half.
wonder. I am a little concerned. I'm adding it as well, but I am a little concerned that it's like they're up by like 4, and it's a little too close to half, and they end up just kind of sitting on it.
I just worry about Carolina's ability to put points on the board because even their 10 against New Orleans were kind of fluky
Oh
based
yeah,
off
no,
of really
they
good
need
field
like a pick
position.
6 or something
Yeah,
wonky
exactly.
to happen.
And Brady's not going to throw a pick 6 against this
Yeah.
team, especially with Stephon Gilmore's out this week too for Carolina already. They're having issues on defense with injuries. So
you can still get 7 with Seattle, and I'm going to take it against Arizona. I don't know what to make of either of these teams, but I think division rival, potential sitting of Cardinals players, big win a week ago in Dallas. Now they're headed home to face Seattle. I think this could be a weird game where the Cardinals win, but like by 4 or 5, and I cover. So I'm taking the 7 with Seattle.
well, especially Arizona's locked in to the 5 spot. They cannot move.
I will take that +7.
Actually, I think Arizona might have a shot to win the division.
They do. They if the Rams lose and Arizona wins, they win the division. So they do have something to play for, and it could be a game where Kyler plays for the first half and they're balling out and they look great. They win 34-14, and the whole second half they're just having a party on the sidelines. But that's another story. I want to take the Dolphins money line. I'm going to do it. Dolphins money line, and then let's talk Chargers Raiders because I really like the Chargers here, but they are kind of the kings of laying an egg at the worst possible time.
It is a new regime, though.
Yeah,
even with psychopath Brandon Staley going for it on every fourth down.
Goes for it on fourth down. Could have some fun. So, I really want to bet. Like I feel like that's a game. Like if you got the 2.5, I feel much better about it. It's pretty much 3 everywhere. What's our money line looking like for that game? -155. I think that's probably the play. I'm going to take Chargers money line -155.
That is a tough spot, man, because the Raiders they're just one of those teams where if they're able to execute their offensive game plan, the games just get ugly and they stay close.
Yeah.
But it's just like if the Chargers jump out to a lead early, the Raiders are going to have a difficult time.
If Gus Bradley plays single high safety and Justin Herbert throws all over him and he has his studs, they could win 34-4.
Yeah.
But if the Chargers get a little too tight, a little too conservative, don't do their stuff, and then the Raiders hit Deshaun Jackson for a touchdown, this game could get a little wonky.
Deshaun Jackson, 3 targets a game. Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, three targets, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like that could be his absolute. It could absolutely be his line, and that would keep them in the game. So, but I think this is a game that gets a little wonky, and the Chargers end up scoring late or something and winning by 2. So I'm going to take the Chargers money line and not overthink it.
No, that's good. You'll see there's a little crossover there in my teaser play this week.
All right, let's go to your teaser and let's talk about that. Break it down. Let me know where your targets are for the week.
Well, the first one on the leg has got to be your Titans, double-digit favorites right now. I'm teasing this down to whatever single-digit number I can get because they're gonna have to win the game to maintain the number one seed, as all expectations are Kansas City is gonna beat Denver. So I like Tennessee to win this spot, especially getting this under double digits is the way to go for me. So getting this at 4.5 is the play. I like your Niners call quite a bit. Even more so if I can get this up over 10. So I'm teasing this from 4 or 4.5 up to 10. Like
Yeah, and
in this divisional spot,
that's
beautiful.
the way to do it because you're crossing two key numbers, 7 and 10, and
Yep.
getting to a spot where they're much better spot.
Yeah, the 49ers getting double digits, their defense, even with the injuries on the backside, is good enough to stop the Rams and keep this game really close. The next one is staying in the NFC West. I like Arizona to beat Seattle. So teasing this down to 1 or 0.5 point, depending on what book you can get that at, I think is the play because Arizona has something to kind of play for in terms of momentum as they just struggle through, a 4 game, 6 game losing streak. Like they're going to want to go into the playoffs riding a hot streak. So I like them to win the game. And then going back to that Chargers Raiders spot, I don't think that the Chargers are going to want to allow the Raiders to hang in there. So I think that you're going to see them come out firing on all cylinders on offense, throwing the ball down the field, forcing the Raiders to kind of get away from running the ball with Josh Jacobs, leading to, them airing it out a little bit more. And I do like this to go over the number that it's currently listed at, get in the 50s. So teasing this down to 43
Yeah.
is just makes it even more likely that I'm going to hit there.
I like those calls quite a bit. I think there is some landmines for teaser legs. I thought Dallas and the Chiefs both being teaser options was going to be a problem, but obviously that numbers moved. Chiefs are interesting, but that could be a game where they win by 3 and not 3.5, and you end up
Especially
losing.
Denver too. Even no matter how injured they are, there's just something about playing
Yeah.
up there.
And I think going the other way with some teams, I think taking the Bengals, adding 6 or 7 to them, getting them over 12 or 13, I think makes a lot of sense. The Colts could make some sense bringing them down inside 10. And I like taking the Falcons, who obviously there's some juice and there's some thought that they should be in a good spot this week. You take them, add 7 there. You get them to 10.5. I think you feel like you're in a great spot with them. And then obviously, yeah, the Niners I think are a great option. And then Pats Dolphins could be fun too. I think depending on how you see that game,
Yep.
you could take it either way, and I think you could be in a good spot. So I like all those calls quite a bit. Let's talk some props and let's look at some potential options. Obviously, it's kind of a weird spot, and we also don't necessarily have a ton of options. But let's head over to the DraftKings Sportsbook and see what we can find. There is going to be some interesting spots. So, like, you could take Patrick Mahomes, whose passing yards is set at 266.5. You could take the under there.
I was just gonna say I'm taking Mahomes pass yards under after
Yep.
seeing that. I don't see them playing all 4 quarters, nor do I see them having to throw the ball a ton because
Yep.
Denver's offense is just not that good with Drew Lock. So I think there's a possibility this is 14-0, 17-0, and they sit on the ball,
Yep.
So I like the under here.
Both Matthew Stafford and Justin Herbert at 278.5. Those numbers seem high, but I could see both guys having to throw, especially if my idea of the Niners getting out pretty comfortably in this game and Stafford kind of having to throw to get them back in the game. Like I could see him going 300 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns, and the Niners winning like 24-17, something like that. 28-24, I don't know, something like that. Could be interesting. Taysom Hill 211.5 feels a little high. I
Yeah,
like
that's
you said, we expect him to keep the ball on the ground a little bit more. Probably going to lean to the under. I think that could be an interesting spot, especially because they shouldn't need to throw a ton. I don't think the Falcons are going to be at like 31-3, and Hill's going
no.
to have to throw like crazy. So those could be some interesting numbers. I'm looking at interceptions again. Ryan Tannehill threw 4 picks against the Texans. And while I don't want to do that, plus 135 for over a half of an interception is incredibly compelling.
That is a good number.
Yeah, plus money on a guy who can throw it, and I could see them taking a few deep shots, but I think that's a good number. Rushing yards, Jonathan Taylor, 115.5. I'm gonna take the under on that. I know it's Jacksonville. I know it's gross, but I think if the Colts are in a good spot and they'll find an opportunity to kind of rest him a little bit. I think that number is just a little too high, so I'm gonna take under 115.5.
That is quite a lot, especially for the last week. Because if they have this game in hand late, they're not going to be riding him
Yeah,
at the end of the game. It's going to be
if it's
Naheem
20
Hines.
if it's 28-3 at half,
Yeah, exactly. They're
you bet your ass he's sitting down. It's a lot,
yeah,
of
exactly.
Naheem
Yep.
Hines and whoever else you want to throw out there. Um, Donta Foreman, I think, is interesting at like 69.5 if they run him like in
I just worry about their rotation, like because they use Hilliard a lot.
Dontrell Hilliard, Jeremy McNichols, they all see enough work. Josh Jacobs, 58.5 is interesting if you think the Raiders are good, are competitive in this game. If you think they're getting dump trucked, then obviously that's a place to take the under. Justin Herbert, 13.5 rushing yards. That number is compelling to me.
Oh,
Are
I'm
you adding
smashing
it
the
to
over
your?
on that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add it too.
Yeah,
Justin Herbert.
with Max Crosby coming off the edge right there, I think you're going to see Herbert having to escape the pocket and make some plays with his legs for sure.
Yep.
Going back to the Saturday games too, somebody else I like to go hit their over. I'm popping a can and doing the duck with Byron Pringle. Over his receiving yards, currently set at 29.5. He's kind of cementing himself a nice role as kind of that wide receiver too. He's supplanted Demarcus Robinson on the outside and even Mecole Hardman. But I do think that they're going to want to keep him in the game, get him a little more involved, even if Chad Henney's in there. So I like his yards prop at over 29.5.
Speaking of receiving yards, I kind of like Laquan Treadwell, which is the fact that we're in 2022, we're betting Laquan Treadwell props is pretty insane.
Yeah.
But the dude has been money, and if
Yeah,
Jacksonville's going to be
monster.
losing like we expect, 41.5 is a pretty reasonable total for him.
Yeah, all the Jaguars guys and their totals, all that is required, however, is that Trevor Lawrence is allowed more than 2.1 seconds to throw the ball, which he's been really they've been struggling keeping him clean, and you could tell he's got the rookie jitters for sure. He's been off on a lot of throws. He's had a rough patch this year.
The last 6 games for Laquan: 53 yards, 62 yards, 68 yards, 57 yards, 54 yards, 87 yards. Seeing 6.5, 9, 6, 5, 8 in targets over that span. Yes, please. I will take the over 41.5 for Laquan Treadwell in receiving yards. I really appreciate that DraftKings actually having props out when we record this. It makes our job a lot easier.
Exactly. It's interesting though, because some of the props, like they don't have much listed. Like when you look at receptions, there's only 2 games listed. You got like total yards, only 2 games listed. They're really struggling to get any information as to who's playing and who isn't as well. Yeah. So, we're not the only ones here.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to do yards because you can feel whether they get a lot of targets, especially in some of these games. But yeah. Very interesting. What about Austin Eckler? 13.5 carries. That feels a little high. Like I don't.
Yeah, they've kind of scaled back his usage.
Well,
especially
I feel
after
like
he dealt with
there's a
COVID.
couple spots, right? Where there's a spot where the Chargers are throwing a lot, so he doesn't run a lot, and it's a lot more dump offs. There's a spot where they get up pretty big, and it's a lot of Justin Jackson or Josh Kelly, so he doesn't get a lot of carries. The under is minus 125, so obviously, this isn't like rocket science where I'm, discovering the atom or whatever. But it is interesting to think about that. And it might be, if take a look at your book, maybe it's even, I think if you can get 12.5 or 13 at much better numbers, that could be another way to attack it. Let me see. I'm going to head over to our friends over at FTN Prop Shop because There is some interesting spots. Yeah, 13.5 at a couple books. Let's see if we can find a better. Nope. Yeah. And 56.5 yards is kind of tempting, but that is something where even if he's getting, 8 carries, he could get 60 yards and kind of ruin that for you.
Yeah, but that's the thing though too, is like you can't bank on these guys busting out these long runs in order to hit those yards prop. Most of the time it's going to take volume, and a guy like him is more utilized in the passing game. So
yeah, I think there could be some opportunities. Obviously, we have to see who's playing, but like fading some of the Packers receivers or fading some of the other receivers that there's like a guy like MVS who needs that big play.
yeah,
You know,
without Aaron Rodgers, he's
without
probably
Aaron Rodgers, it's a
not
lot
going to
less
hit.
likely. So check
Yeah.
out those numbers. Think about that. Brian, did you have any other props you wanted to make sure you get on before we move forward?
Well, yeah, like I said, whenever the Dak Prescott prop comes out, I mean, it would, depending on whether or not he's going to be deemed active or not, but I'm smashing the under on his yards prop. Even like Ezekiel Elliott, I think that there's a shot that maybe he's even a game day inactive.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on his props because
Yeah, you want him to play and then but only like a drive or two so you can get those unders.
yeah, because I don't see them putting him at any risk of further injuring
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah. Especially after losing Michael Gallup again last week. That was
Yes, oh,
tough.
that was brutal.
Okay, let's finish this show out. We appreciate everybody who's made it this far. If you are enjoying the content, make sure you smash that thumbs up. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you let us know down in the comments what your best bet for week 18 is, prop, side, total, whatever it may be. Let's recap our card. Let's hit our best bet and let's get out of here, Brian. I am going Chiefs -3 in the first quarter, Chiefs -6.5 in the first half. Niners +4.5, Bengals +6, Falcons 3.5, Falcons money line, Texans +10.5, Lions +4, Bucks -5 in the first half, Seattle +7, Dolphins money line +240, Chargers money line -155, Jonathan Taylor under 115.5 yards, Justin Herbert over 13.5 rushing yards. It was rushing yards for Taylor as well. And over 41.5 receiving yards for Laquanosaurus Rex. What's on your card?
All right, so I'm on the train with you with Kansas City first half -6.5. I think that's one of my favorite plays of the week. Colts first half -9.5 against Jacksonville. I think they want to come out strong. Titans first half -6.5. Again, all the starters will be in there. I like the Vikings take care of business against a very injured Bears team who are playing for nothing. Ravens, I like them to beat the absolutely atrocious Steelers team who already guaranteed themselves a 500 or better record last
And
week, so they're really
Deontay
not playing for
Johnson is
anything.
out for Pittsburgh too, which is like Ben's guy. So
Yeah, so this game should be Baltimore fairly easy. Saints Falcons under 39.5. I don't think you're going to see much offense in this game. The Dolphins +6.5. I think that makes way too much sense. And if you want to get into the two-leg teaser, them with any of the number of big dogs this week
yeah,
make too much sense.
I think Dolphins, Niners, Dolphins,
Yeah.
Falcons, Dolphins, Lions.
Any of the home dogs this week who are
Yeah.
getting points, you could tease them up and they're probably going to hit. Continuing on, Bucks first half -5. Again, I expect the starters to maybe play a quarter, but I think that'll be enough to beat this completely inept Panthers offense. Player props, I got Patrick Mahomes pass yards under 266.5. Byron Pringle, snap crackle pop over 29.5 receiving yards. Staying on Saturday, Dak Prescott, whenever his yards prop pops off, if he's active, I'm taking the under on whatever that is. And then Justin Herbert rush yards, I'm taking over 13.5. And then once again, the 4-leg teaser, Titans down to 4.5, 49ers getting 10.5, Cardinals down to a 1 or a half point favorite, and Chargers at Raiders over 43 points.
Yep. Awesome. That we went almost an hour. We appreciate everybody who made it this far, but there was so much to cover. That Brian,
Yeah.
there is one question only. What is your best bet for NFL week number 18?
Well, I stuck with them or I picked them at the beginning of the year to beat my favorite team. I thought they would go undefeated. I have to end it with them. I'm going Bucks first half -5 against the Panthers as my best bet to end the regular season here in Week 18.
So I haven't added this team to my card, and I'm going to make them my best bet, and I might look real dumb come Sunday. Buffalo Bills -16.5. Absolutely trounce the Jets. Win the AFC East. Lock up that playoff seed. And don't even let the Jets feel like they have a chance. Zach Wilson, multiple interceptions. Josh Allen, multiple touchdowns. I might look at Josh Allen, most passing yards for the week. Yeah, that's my best bet.
Anytime betting against the Jets normally is profitable, except for last week, of course, when I picked against them. But
which the Bucks have been kind of weird on the road, and the fact that they might have to go on the road, at least against the Green Bay and potentially other places, is something we'll have to put in the back of our noggins for the playoffs, because Brian and I will be back next week to get you ready for the wild card round of the playoffs. I'm very excited to see what matchups we get. We'll be here to break it all down. We'll figure out how we're going to do it with all the games being split up. Maybe we'll divide it into 2 episodes to make it a little more digestible so we don't go for another hour, but we'll figure that part out. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Remember, only bet what you're willing to lose. Let's make some money this weekend. Let's have some fun watching football, and we'll talk to you guys next time.